There's a reason this found you right now, in this moment, when you're exhausted from trying and tired of hoping and wondering if anything will ever actually change. If you're seeing this, you're about to hit the turning point. Not because I'm predicting your future, but because you're standing in the exact space where a transformation becomes inevitable. That moment right before the shift, when everything feels heaviest, when you're so worn down that you can't pretend anymore, when you've run out of excuses and energy and patience for your own delays. This is the moment, not tomorrow's moment, not next week's awakening, right here, right now. This message found you because something inside you is about to refuse. And that refusal is the hinge your entire life has been waiting to turn on. Let me tell you what's actually happening. You've been asking the universe for signs, for clarity, for proof that things can be different. And every time you asked for something small, something safe, something that fit inside the life you've been tolerating, the answer was no. Not because you didn't deserve it, but because what's coming for you is bigger than what you've been asking for. You've been praying for a better job when you're being prepared to build something that doesn't exist yet. You've been asking for a healthier relationship when you're being shown how to finally choose yourself first. You've been hoping for relief when what's actually forming is complete transformation. The small things you wanted weren't denied. They were redirected. Because settling for less than you're capable of would have been the cruelest answer the universe could give. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. The reason you're at the turning point isn't because you've finally done everything right. It's because you've finally hit the wall hard enough that you can't keep running in the same direction. You're here because you're exhausted, because you're done, because some part of you looked at your life recently and said something you've never said with this level of finality before. I refuse. I refuse to keep living like this. I refuse to keep accepting what I've been accepting. I refuse to keep making excuses for people who don't show up. I refuse to keep playing small because it makes others comfortable. I refuse to spend another year in the same patterns, the same pain, the same stagnant version of a life I know I'm capable of outgrowing. That refusal, that's not anger, that's not desperation, that's clarity finally breaking through the fog. And once you refuse, once you draw that line, everything on the other side of it starts organizing itself differently. You're not a done deal. Read that again. You're not a done deal. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what your parents did or didn't do. It doesn't matter what your siblings chose or what patterns your family has been repeating for generations. It doesn't matter what you did last year, last month, yesterday. You're not bound by your history. You're not defined by your worst moments. You're not disqualified by your failures. You're not limited by the environment you grew up in or the beliefs that were handed to you before you were old enough to question them. Your life is not a closed book. It's not a done deal. And the moment you truly believe that, the moment you stop seeing yourself as a product of your circumstances and start seeing yourself as someone capable of creating new ones, everything shifts. Let me give you a way to see this. There's a moment in every seed's life when it cracks open underground. To anything watching from above, it looks like death. The shell splits. The structure breaks. Everything that seed has been holding on to dissolves. And if the seed could think, it would probably believe it's ending. But that cracking, that's not death. That's birth. That's the only way the life inside can finally break through. You can't grow into a tree while you're still holding the shape of a seed. You have to let the old form shatter so the new one can emerge. And right now, you're underground. You're cracking. And it feels like you're falling apart, but you're not falling apart. You're breaking open. And what's about to grow from this moment is something you couldn't have become if you'd stayed comfortable, stayed safe, stayed in the version of yourself that everyone recognized. The turning point isn't about becoming someone new. It's about finally refusing to stay someone small. It's about looking at the cycles you've been repeating and saying, this ends with me. Looking at the relationships that drain you and saying, I'm not doing this anymore. Looking at the habits that numb you and saying, I deserve better than this. Looking at the dreams you've been postponing and saying, if not now, when? The turning point is the moment you stop negotiating with the life you've been tolerating and start building the life you've been avoiding because it required too much change, too much courage, too much willingness to disappoint people who've gotten comfortable with your smallness. And here's what nobody tells you about breaking cycles. It doesn't require you to have a perfect plan. It doesn't require you to see the whole path. It just requires you to take responsibility for what happens next. Not responsibility for what was done to you. Not responsibility for how others treated you or what they failed to give you. But responsibility for what you do with it. Responsibility for whether you let it define you or refine you. Responsibility for whether you pass the pain forward or transform it into purpose. The moment you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the author of what comes next, the universe stops treating you like someone who needs to be saved and starts treating you like someone who's ready to build. You don't need massive change to start. You don't need to overhaul your entire life tomorrow morning. You just need to do one thing differently. Leave your room when you've been hiding. Go for a walk when you've been sitting still. Watch something that educates you instead of numbing you. Move your body for 10 minutes instead of scrolling for an hour. Say no to the person who always hears yes. Say yes to the opportunity that scares you. Eat with intention instead of compulsion. Speak kindly to yourself instead of tearing yourself down. One different choice. That's all it takes to start. Because small actions in a new direction compound faster than you think. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, and 6 months from now, you won't recognize the person you were when you started. Not because you became perfect, but because you became consistent. Because you chose differently. Because you refused to let another year pass while you stayed the same. Now, here's what I need you to do right now. If something in this message landed, if you felt that recognition that you're standing at the turning point, that you're done with the old version, that you're ready to refuse what you've been accepting, go to the comments and type 3 words. I refuse this. That's it. No explanation, just that declaration. Because when you make a private refusal public, when you claim it out loud where others can witness it, something shifts in your nervous system. You've drawn a line. You've made it real. And your subconscious registers that this isn't just another moment of inspiration that fades by morning. This is a commitment, a turning point, the moment you stopped being who you were and started becoming who you're meant to be. And if you know someone who's stuck in cycles they can't seem to break, someone who's been tolerating what's killing them, someone who needs permission to refuse, share this with them. Ask them to declare it too. I refuse this. Let that be the line that everything changes on. Subscribe if you want to stay connected to this work. And if supporting through super thanks feels right, it directly fuels more content like this. But real talk, the fact that you're here, watching, listening, I don't take that for granted. Thank you. Here's what happens after the turning point. You become the cycle breaker, not just for yourself, for everyone who comes after you. Your children won't inherit the patterns you are breaking. Your friends will see what's possible when someone finally chooses themselves. Your future self will look back at this moment and recognize it as the day everything shifted. Not because life became easy, but because you became someone who refused to stay stuck. You stopped being a victim and became a warrior. Not someone who fights against life, someone who fights for it, someone who refuses to waste it, someone who knows their story isn't over just because the first chapters were hard. And that warrior, that's who you've always been underneath all the doubt and fear and conditioning. That's who's been waiting for you to get tired enough of your own excuses to finally show up. You didn't need permission. You didn't need perfect conditions. You didn't need more time or more resources or more confidence. You just needed to refuse, to crack open, to let the old form die so the new one could grow. You've been that seed underground long enough. You've adapted to the darkness long enough. You've convinced yourself that staying safe in the shell was better than risking the break. But the break is here. You feel it, even if you've been trying to ignore it, even if you've been trying to distract yourself, even if a part of you is terrified of what comes next. You feel it, that quiet internal snap, that subtle shift, that moment when something inside you finally whispers, enough. That's why this message found you. That's why you're still reading these words instead of scrolling past. That's why something in you is nodding, pulsing, resonating with every line, saying, yes, this is it. This is the moment. Because it is. This is not a coincidence. This is alignment. This is timing. This is that small crack in your old shell where the light finally gets in. So let me ask you something. Before this moment slips away, before your mind talks you out of the transformation your soul is begging for, what are you refusing? What version of your life are you finally ready to stop accepting as normal? What pattern in your family, your relationships, your thinking, your habits ends with you? What cycle breaks here, in this breath, in this awareness you're feeling right now? Because this is your turning point, not the future turning point you fantasize about, not the once everything stabilizes turning point, not the next year when I'm ready turning point. This one, right now, while things are messy, while you're uncertain, while everything feels shaky, uncomfortable, unfamiliar, but undeniably alive. Because breakthroughs aren't clean. They don't announce themselves. They don't wait until the conditions are perfect or the people around you approve. They come when the seed cracks, in the darkness, in the soil, under pressure, unseen by anyone else, but undeniable to you. And that's exactly where you are. The seed is cracking. The old identity is dissolving. The outdated version of you is falling away piece by piece. You're still underground, still unseen, still in the becoming. But this is the first moment light has touched you in a long time. Listen carefully. The life you've been praying for, aching for, dreaming about, it isn't waiting for you to become worthy of it. It isn't waiting for you to earn it. It isn't waiting for you to fix yourself first. It's waiting for one thing, for you to refuse the life you've been settling for. Because once you refuse, truly, deeply refuse, everything shifts. Once you commit, once you declare that the old story is done, once you take yourself off the shelf you placed yourself on, the acceleration begins. Doors open that were previously invisible. People show up who feel like destiny instead of coincidence. Opportunities find you instead of you chasing them. Clarity floods in where confusion used to live. And it's not because the universe suddenly decided you were ready. It's because you finally decided you were done waiting, done shrinking, done surviving, done negotiating with your own potential, done tolerating what drains you, done being loyal to your past at the expense of your future. Because hear me, you are not a victim. You are not finished. You are not defined by where you started or limited by what you've endured. You are a seed cracking open. And people forget this. The cracking isn't the end. It's the beginning. It's the moment life forces its way into the world. It's the moment pressure becomes purpose. What grows from this moment, from this refusal, from this inner shift, from this turning point, is going to be something nobody saw coming. Not the people who doubted you, not the people who underestimated you, and not even you. Because you haven't met the version of yourself that emerges after this. The cycle breaker, the warrior, the one who no longer apologizes for wanting more, the one who becomes the proof that pain can become power, that breaking can become building, that darkness can become depth. But you have to choose it. You have to refuse what you've been settling for. You have to stop giving CPR to versions of your life that have already expired. Because if you don't, if you let this moment pass like all the others, if you slip back into comfort disguised as chaos, if you keep negotiating with the life you're tolerating, then what was all of this pain for? What was the breaking for? What was the exhaustion for? What was the crying, the confusion, the losing, the healing, the undoing for? If nothing grows from it, if nothing changes because of it, then you've stayed underground far too long. You've earned your breakthrough. You've earned your transformation. You've earned your rise. It's time to break through. It's time to step into the life calling your name. It's time to stop settling and start becoming. Because the moment is here, and you already feel it.